it's time, quality, and cost, right? You can't have all three.
That's smart business.
Let's be professional, but not too professional.
See, starting a business in general is risky.
And they're like, hello, governor.
That's totally me.
I want to go to LA.
And we're going to go through these ups and downs together.
This guy was not a good guy. He was a bad dude.
All right, today we got Dan Green on the pod.
Dan the man.
He is the man. I'm excited to get in this conversation. He's working on amazing projects, building $30 million homes that you see in magazines. It's awesome. We were just in Orlando over the weekend at a conference, had a great time. We were actually sitting in the pool and we're like, hey, come on the podcast. So here we are. So let's start off with going through your story. Like, how, give us some insight on your story, how you got started, and kind of a glimpse on where you're at today.
Sure, boys. Well, welcome. Thank you for having me. It's excited to be here.
Oh, man. It's our pleasure.
We've built such a great relationship over the last few years, right? And it's nice that we're continuing that on, with showing other people, what we're doing. Hopefully we get a chance to do some cool stuff together one of these days, right?
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, to talk a little bit about me and my background, where I come from, what I do, the first thing to say is that I'm in the world of high-end residential homes, right? But not just that, high-end, projects is what I like to do. I like to say, I asked myself a long time ago, like, when people say that, well, what's your why? What's your why? Why do you do what you do, right? And what's the meaning behind your life, right? And, I really thought about that for a long time. And for me, it was like, I want to build amazing spaces, right? And I want to build amazing spaces for people to thrive, right? Because a space is for me, it's not a material thing. It's not. People say, oh, that's materialistic, but it's not, because it's an experience, right? So you get experiences from spaces. Therefore, for me, they're not material things. So, I studied project management and construction. I did a master's in project management and construction to learn about, how to build. But I was kind of a builder from a young age, really, kind of come out of the womb swinging a hammer, so I was always in the building game trades and stuff like that. Always doing stuff, whether it be hod carrying, bricklaying, all kinds of different stuff. And so all my mates at school, all my friends, and by the way, I'm British, as you can probably tell. Most people are like, hey, you had that Australian guy on your show. I'm like, no, I'm not Australian. I'm English. Everyone thinks I'm Australian, but I'm not. And so, for me, I had a lot of mates growing up. I don't know about you guys, but they all went into the trades, and a lot of them left school at 16. So, in the UK, if you're not good enough at grades, so to speak, you don't get to stay in school after 16. You're done. 16, you're done. You're out.
They kick you out of there.
They kick you out. Go find a job. So all my mates, they came electricians, plumbers. They all went into the trades, and I was like, how do I come at this from a different angle, but still get to be with them? So that was like, okay, let's go at this from a management perspective, right? Managing other people. We don't get these hands too dirty anymore, right? Keep my nails nice and clean. So when I made that decision, then I was like, okay, let's study this. And in the UK, project management and construction is a little bit more of an understood discipline. I think it's only really sort of coming in as a discipline here in the US more recently, that you can study that as a degree or something like that, right? So that's what I did. I studied project management and construction, and I did a master's in that. So once I finished that in the UK, I started working for like a consultancy company, right? We would manage these bigger infrastructure projects like hotels, mixed-use developments, but we were what they would call an owner's rep. So we would represent, guys like yourselves or other developers that are trying to build these projects, these big sophisticated projects, and we would help them, right? We would help them as consultants. We would develop the budgets for them. We would, oversee the entitlement process for them. We would help them, onboard the team, negotiate the architect's contract, negotiate the engineer's contract, negotiate all these contracts, make sure that they were getting best value, charge a fee for that, and then oversee the construction as well. So negotiate the GC's contract, make sure that they're protected, oversee the project, and just kind of see everything through. So it's like inception to completion, right? It's like idea in my mind to do something and build something. We're going to take you through the entire process until, the keys are there and be your support system. So that's what I did kind of starting off, right? And so once I did that, I was working in the UK, and, my wife, I met her in Indonesia, in Bali. She was living with me in Bali, not Bali. She was living with me in England after we met in Bali. And she's like, hey, it's fucking cold here, man. Like, we need to leave. I'm like, what do you mean we need to leave? She's like, you either find a job in Asia where it's hot, or in America where it's hot, or I'm out. I'm like, oh shit, man, I need to fucking sort something out. I got to find an opportunity. So I was applying for jobs in Asia and Singapore and all over the world, really. And so I got lucky that the company I was working for, a company called Gardner and Theobald, who's a big project and cost management consultancy, said, we're starting an office in LA. And so I was like, I'll go. I want to go to LA. And they're like, you can't go. You're 23. You don't have any experience. You don't know what you're doing. And I was like, I'd been with the company like 6 months. I was like, let's go. Oh, send me to LA. They're like, no, you can't go. You're too young. You don't have enough experience. I'm like, okay, well, how do I flip the script on this one, right? So I went to my boss's office, and I said, hey, listen, of everybody in this office, I may be the youngest guy here, and I may be the least experienced guy here, but that also means I'm the cheapest to send.
Amen.
Right? So he's like, all right, we'll send you to LA. So we sent me to LA, and my office was on Rodeo Drive. So we were on Rodeo Drive for 6 years. And so, I just used to wander around the streets of Beverly Hills as a youngster, kind of just looking at people going, I wonder if that guy's got money. I wonder if that guy's got money. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, just trying to be nice to people, but also like being very acutely aware that there's more money in that square mile than there is like anywhere else probably in the world.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So I was, I'm always nice to people and pleasant, but you also don't want to say the wrong thing to the wrong guy at the right time. So it was like, standing in the line to get coffee or whatever, just meeting people and increasing my network in Beverly Hills over those years that I was there working for that company was great. And I grew the firm in Los Angeles, very quickly. I managed to elevate myself. I managed to put myself in a position that I was, a key player in that organization. And so we grew that office from 2 people to, I think there was probably 30 guys there when I left, right? And so when I left, I was like, I can do this on my own now. I can figure this out. So what we did was we started doing some owner's rep services on our own. So we had this one key client. I'm not going to say his name, but he's the owner of a hockey team in Canada. That's all I'll tell you.
Got it.
And he was my first key client, right? So we for him oversaw like 4 or 5 massive projects that were in LA to build these huge houses. And there were other GCs that were building these houses, other contractors were building these houses. But we just oversaw the entire project, and it was pretty good money. We were making money. We were starting a business. We were getting things going, and we had these big houses as our first projects. And so then eventually it was like, hey, how about we build one of these for you, right? So then that's how we got into the building game, right? Then we started building these houses, right? So we said some smaller project. We started with like, 1,000 square foot house, 2,000 square foot house, 4,000 square foot house. We just kept doubling it, right? It's just like, we built 4,000 square foot house. Now we can build an 8,000 square foot house. We can build a 10,000 square foot house. As it starts rolling, starts moving, we start getting these opportunities to build these bigger and bigger houses. Before we know it, we're building these 40,000 square foot homes. We did a massive house in Holmby Hills that we just finished recently that was for a very, very high net worth individual. In the tech industry, I can't say his name again, but we were working for a developer, and the developer, was partnered with us on the deal. We were kind of going at this house. We'd been kind of building this house for a couple of years because it was massive, and he kept on adding. The developer kept saying, "Hey man, let's build a basement underneath the house." I was like, "What? Okay, yeah, let's do that." They slid these huge steel beams and put a basement underneath what was already a 28,000 square foot house. We added square footage there. Then he's like, "We need to build a guest house." I was like, "Yeah, guest house. Let's build the guest house." And he's like, "The guest house is going to be 10,000 square feet. I'm like, "Well, that's a fucking big guest house. But yeah, let's go." So we used to build the guest house. And, you know, before we know it, we're building this 40,000 square foot house that's crazy. And then, you know, about 6 months before we finished it, they got an offer from this guy, this billionaire. And he came in and bought the house for $180 million.
Wow.
So that was exciting. So then we finished that house. And, you know, now I think for me, like the direction has changed a little bit, right? Because we really I started as an owner's rep, right, on the consultancy side. Then I became a builder, right, and building high homes. And for me now, it's all about raising capital and building for ourselves, because I'm kind of, you know, kind of a little bit over the days of wanting to stand in her closet talking about, you know, what we're going to do with a client. I'd rather say, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to make these decisions myself up front and build these houses on spec. And then a buyer comes in maybe while you're in the finishes stages, and that, you know, they come in and you get it under contract with them, and then they get to make a few decisions and changes along the way. But it's very limited, because for me, a lot of the times with these high net worth individuals and clients, if we are building custom houses for them, it can be difficult because they can slow the process down. They can make a lot of changes. They can make things difficult. So I think that it's easier and more efficient for us to be able to be kind of the rulers of our own destiny, so to speak, by building these houses. Not to say that we don't still do client work, because we do. For the right client and the right project, we'll still build a custom house, you know, as a general contractor. And we still work, you know, on some of those types of projects. But really our goal at this stage is to raise capital and build our own projects, not necessarily all 20,000 square foot houses, right? We do some smaller flips, we do some medium-sized stuff, we do some big-sized stuff. So, you know, a small project might be, you know, in Los Angeles, you know, really, you know, you can't really buy a house under $1 million. It's kind of hard, right, in LA to buy that. So that would be like we buy something, let's say we find a steal and buy something at like 900 grand, at $1 million. We're putting in, you know, 300,000 or 400,000, maybe 600,000, somewhere in that range, and maybe we're exiting, you know, somewhere between 1.8 and 2.2, 2.4, something like that. So we do a lot of those as well, and then we do a lot of projects where it's like, okay, we buy for sort of 2 to 3, maybe, or 2-ish, and then we spend $1 million, $1.5 million, we exit just under 5. The nice thing about that one is, because this thing called the ULA has come into LA, which is like this mansionization tax that everyone's talking about, which is like a transfer tax that they're charging this 5.5% on everything over 5 million. So there's a lot of benefits to staying under 5 million, right? So yeah, I mean, that's a little bit about me in a nutshell. We try not to take too long to explain that, but like that's kind of how I have arrived where I am right now. And so for me now, it's like, okay, how do we do a little bit more volume, you know, and what I'm doing? Because, you know, these bigger houses, they're a slog, man. I mean, they're 2-year projects. It takes a long time. So it's nice to be able to have some other smaller, quicker ones in the mix as well, you know?
There's a lot to unpack there, man, and I knew there would be. This is super exciting for us. One, because we, as you said, we got to know each other a few years ago, and we've always had so much fun hanging out with you. We've kicked around the ideas of doing some projects together. I know that we're going to at some point.
Definitely.
You know, so it's fun having this conversation too, because you know you're doing stuff that we haven't talked to somebody doing this before, right? I mean, high-end, $180 million houses, being involved in a project like that is incredible. So there's just a lot to unpack there. I mean, would you say, you know, so right now I know you built in Vegas before, you've built in LA, You've done stuff, in Europe now. Would you say that are you guys considering, as you're looking for volume, like building master plan communities and buying land and building something more like that, or is that not? Is that something that's on the horizon?
I would definitely say that is within our purview to do, some bigger, estates like that. But I still think that what we would want to do is do something that nobody else is doing, right? So, for us, like looking at a community like that, it would probably be like something gated. It would probably be something, that's a higher end spec on these houses, building something of real quality, not track homes. I don't see us doing a lot of track, track homes, but there's opportunities for stuff like that I would definitely look at, where we could develop, communities, and build some really cool houses in the communities. Absolutely, yeah.
And for the listeners, so we'll say it in the intro, obviously, but Dan's company is called Blackbriar, builtblackbriar.com, and I would say, out of anyone that we've had on the show, I mean, this guy's Instagram, the houses are fucking sick. They're what you would see in MTV Cribs, and so it's just to be able to think through the scale of these houses. Like I said, 180 million. I mean, holy shit. But
so I'd like to go back to where you said, so when you left the consulting agency you're working with and went out on your own, and your first project was that $180 million project. Like, were you scared? Like, because obviously when you were with the consulting agency, you had people to lean on, mentors to work with. Yeah. Like, you're going out and doing this on your own.
It took a while before we got the $180 million project. That wasn't like day one after I left.
Okay.
Right.
What was the first one you left? Like, when you left, like, and walk us through like how that transformation happened, right? Going from working with other people to now I got to do this on my own.
Yeah. It's scary, man. Like, going out on your own. It's scary. I remember being really nervous about it. And we had a couple of opportunities. And they weren't all kind of aligning at the same time, There was like 4 or 5 opportunities for me to kind of do something on my own. One of them was like right now. The other one was potentially like a month away. There's another one that was like sort of 6 months away, and another one that I was sort of chasing, right? And like you're kind of like trying to like hope that they all happen at the same time, because you're like, that's what I need to make sure that I can afford to live, right? And so when I bit the bullet, I just relied on this main opportunity. And the nice thing was that first opportunity was 4 different houses that we were managing. And I remember that, they were pretty decent fees. Each one was a pretty decent monthly fee for us to manage it. So it was enough, to be able to kick the business off. And, I think it's important to remember that if you're starting your own business, you either have to have the cash that you need saved up to be able to launch it, right? Or you need to be able to have the opportunity that you have a client that there's immediate cash flow coming in to be able to start the business, right? Without those two, don't do it, man. Mm-hmm. Stick to it. Hold on to your W-2 as long as you possibly can. And, I'm not going to say it, but I'm going to say it. Moonlight if you can, until you can, take that on full time. Work late hours, work at night until that opportunity is at a place that you can, you can quit your day job. But for me, it wasn't 100%. It didn't feel like it was 100% at the time. It felt scary, and so I just went for it. Right, I just went for it. It was just we just jumped in with both feet and just went for it and took the opportunity. Actually, back at that time, I also had a partner. Him and I are no longer partners, but I will say, especially when you're starting a business the first time, having a partner is really good, because it allows you to like throw ideas off each other, and then also have somebody to alleviate your fears. right? Say, nah, man, we got this. We'll be fine, right? Back each other up, and that makes a huge difference. But the one thing I'll say about partnerships is normally when you start those partnerships, like you're in partnership because you both have a different skill set, right? He's got this skill set. This guy's got this skill set. That makes a great partnership. But what happens is, and some partners stay together forever, and that's great, and that's fantastic. I'm not saying anything against partnerships because I have partnerships as well, but just for different things. But in terms of a business partnership, your ownership of business partnership together, what I found was over the years of our business partnership, we learned the skills of the other person, and he got good at what I was good at, and vice versa. And we kind of almost became, the same, right, in a way, because we just learned each other's skills from each other. And I got to the point where I was like, actually, he decided to move on and move away, so that it wasn't a bad thing for us to go our separate ways. But at that point, I just felt like, oh, I've got this now. I now not like my fears weren't as big as they were, when I first started the business. So like for now, it's like I'm on my own, right, as a business owner. But I think back then when I was younger, it was like really nice to have that partnership and just have someone to throw the ideas off of. But now that I'm older, I do prefer to have the business on my own, is what I would say. So, yeah. So
I think it makes a lot of sense though too, especially when we're in, the business that we're in, where we're, managing other people's money, to be able to think about it, to take a calculated risk. Development is risky. The real estate business that we're in is risky. Starting a business in general is risky. So like you were saying, hanging on to the W-2, moonlighting, doing whatever you got to do to basically be able to get some traction first is, that I wouldn't want to invest with someone that was just like, hey, I had this idea and I'm just going to go do it. I haven't proved anything out, really. I'm just going to go make it happen. You're saying you took a calculated risk after working together and you had a partner. That's something that I think a lot of people, it's smart. That's smart business in general. Yeah,
it is. You've got to be careful. It's, it can be nerve-wracking, and there's ups and downs in the market, right, as well. So it's also it's also about timing. I will also say that when you're young and you're starting a business, you also kind of have this mentality that like whatever opportunity comes to you, you've got to take it, right? Like I remember when I first started, we had this client who was building this house, and we got an opportunity to build him for him. And it was a big house. It was like 9,000 square foot house. And we never built a house that big before. It was the first time. And what we kind of came to learn was this guy was not a good guy. He was a bad dude. And he was just like, he was a stockbroker guy that like had the mentality that he could take the same approach that he was taking to like trading stocks, long-term and short-term, like to building a house. Like he would just like negotiate like the demolition guy's contract to a place of like excruciating pain, where the guy's just like, I don't even want to do the job anymore, man.
Yeah.
You're a mission. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Right. And he just went through like sub after sub after sub and just did this. And it just got to the point. It's like, look, man, you're not allowing us to be able to build this house. And we're getting stopped at multiple points along the way. And then you're turning around and blaming us for the delays that you caused, because you just can't make a decision and you can't choose a sub, and you want to negotiate with everybody, and then you don't want to pay anybody for any change orders. And we can't build that way, And we actually ended up pulling out of that project just because we couldn't get paid, couldn't get anything done. And it was a very, 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 very early lesson about what to look for with a bad client. What does a bad client look like? Because they exist. And, once you learn that, when I'm doing projects or partnering with anybody or going to do a deal with anybody, I'm interviewing them the same way that they're interviewing me. It doesn't matter how good the opportunity that they put in front of you is. If the ride's not going to be good, just don't do it. Why would you want to do it? Life's too short. You want to make sure the people you get into business with, not only do they have a good deal, because fundamentally great deal, but is it great people?
Yes.
Right? If the people aren't also great, don't do it just for that reason, because you're going to have a lousy ride and you're not going to enjoy it. For me, like I always tell my clients, like if I am building a house for somebody, right, I'm sort of like, hey, you sure you want to build a house? Because if you just want a nice house, just buy one. Buy a finished house. Like don't build a house unless you're ready to deal with the process associated with building a house, because it's a journey. We're going to be ups and downs. Shit's going to go wrong. We're going to make mistakes. Subs aren't going to show up. Things are going to happen because we can't control everything and everybody else. Construction is dynamic. It's always changing. It's not a manufacturing facility where it's like, oh, we can control everything, right? Because we're inside a manufacturing warehouse. When you're building a house, you can't do that. It's like, oh, this sub was running late. This guy fucking, wasn't there today because whatever his reason was. And so, we try to keep flow in these construction projects, but it's hard. So I tell these clients, listen, like, if you're not in this for the ride, we're going to have this ride together. We're going to enjoy it. And you love the process of like choosing stuff and figuring stuff out and deciding what we want to do and dealing with this issue, dealing with that issue. Just buy yourself a new house, because like, otherwise, why do it? Why? Because otherwise you're going to feel like you're pulling your hair out. You have to love the process to want to be a builder and build difficult things. It's like, when we're building these houses, like, this is not easy, man. This is not easy to build. Not a lot of people can build this. Actually, a very small percentage of people in the world could ever build what we're going to build for you. It's technically very, very hard. It's really, really, really complicated, but it's going to be sick. It's going to be the sickest thing you've ever seen. Like, and it's going to look amazing, but it's time, quality, and cost, right? You can't have all three.
That's right.
You can't have all three at the same time.
I think there was some golden nuggets there, just about interviewing, whether that's the same thing with an investor, whether that's a client, right? Like, and setting expectations. Both of those were golden nuggets where if you set the expectation up front that, hey, this is going to be hard, I'm going to expect that you treat me the way that I would want to be treated. I treat you the way you want to be treated. And we're going to go through these ups and downs together, and we're going to have some fucking fun with it too. But there's going to be some hard times too. Mm-hmm. And if you don't think that person or that group is someone that is going to handle things the right way, just not going after that opportunity at the beginning is going to save you a lot of time and money and effort and hassle.
Yeah.
And that's 100%. That's a golden nugget right there.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about challenges and lessons that you've learned. Now that was one of them already. Has there been other major kind of challenges or things that you've learned from throughout years of doing this?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always challenges. Like, I think for me nowadays it's more like the business growth challenges of like how to manage people and how to really be a good leader amongst your peers, and also how to put the right systems and processes in place that the business can operate without you. Because ultimately, like, you want to be able to go on vacation for 2 weeks and not have to fucking be on the phone every day. Yeah, it's okay, honey. I'm just finishing up this call. Yeah. I'll be right. I'll meet you in the pool. I'll meet you down by the beach. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, because you're just so busy with that you're in it. Right? Yeah. You're in it every day. And I think we're all in it every day, but, being able to delegate more, being able to empower people more is critical to be able to have a successful business. And I think, trying to figure out how to hire people that are smarter than you, and that can do, the job that you're doing a little bit better than you can is critical, right? Because then you can focus more on the business rather than running the business, right? And so really start critically thinking about how you can grow the business and what you're doing to improve. And I think one thing that I've really focused on over the last year is SOPs, right? It's standing off brain procedures, really breaking it down, every single thing that we do, starting to build out Loom videos for those processes. What do they look like? We don't necessarily do stuff the same as everybody else does it in the construction industry. We do things our way or my way, the best way. And then, so it's about kind of breaking that down, figuring out what it looks like. So one of the ways that I've been able to do that is I've actually gone back to the UK, to my original university, and I've kind of handpicked the best guys that are studying what I studied and said, hey, why don't you come over to LA for a year on your gap year, come work with me as an intern, and, help me develop these SOPs. So by doing that, what are they doing? They're learning. They're writing the SOPs. The other people in our organization can then critique that and say, no, that's wrong. Do it this way, do it that way. So he's learning, right? Because he's writing SOPs. Now you take something, he's got something to take back. So it's like, all right, I can kind of study something around this for my dissertation or my degree or whatever like that. And then continuing to do that year on, year out and say, okay, this is the SOPs that was kind of developed by your predecessor. Now go in and make it better, improve it, add to it. What issues, read the SOPs. And then once you're into the process for 3 months, 6 months, go, well, how do I do this? Or is it not in the SOPs? Nope. Well, then figure it out, write it in there, add it to that so we know. So there's a continuous learning dialect about what we're doing and how we're doing it, improving the processes. One of the main programs that we use as developers is a program called Procore. And Procore is like a project management software to allow you to kind of manage these projects, right? So it allows all the financials are in there, daily logs, submittals, RFIs, everything to kind of keep the project on managed. And, we have daily photos of every single project we've got going on. We know who's on site, what they did, et cetera, et cetera. So that's been a struggle, but yeah.
So I'd like to kind of double down on that one. So real estate in general, right? No matter what market you're in, what sector you're in, it's competitive, right? Finding good deals is being successful in those deals is always going to be competitive, right? But specifically, you're in LA, very competitive market in a very competitive sector. What have you done? You kind of touched on a little bit there to really set yourself apart, right? Whether it's to find the client, find the deal, find the investor, whatever it is. What has been your differentiator in your market?
I think that the answer to that is always changing, right? As you develop as a company, your direction can also change, right? So you have to be agile and able to adjust based on opportunity. I think for us, one of the most important things is quality, right? We want to make sure that we're building the best of the best of the best, right? So that means we got to use the best subcontractors, right? We got to have the best materials, right? We've got to have the best finishes. We got to work with the best architects, work with the best interior designers. That's going to make us be the best if we're working with the best, right? So that's one thing that is fundamental to who we are as a company. It's like we're the best. We want to be the best, but it doesn't mean that we've got egos. We don't. That's one thing we leave at the door is our egos. We're not ego guys. We want to be supportive. And then I think for us, the other big thing is the process and the ride, right? So, whether we're building for ourselves as developers or whether we're building for an end user that wants us to build for them to a spec, the ride and service that we're providing is critical, right? So, for us, it's about kind of open communication, continual communication and updates on what we're doing. No surprises. You know, if something goes wrong or we make a mistake, we just want to get it out there as soon as possible. Don't try to sugarcoat it. Tell it how it is. And then, you know, it's about providing a ride that's enjoyable, right? Like having fun with it, right? We try to take ourselves too seriously. You know, like that's what I always tell my guys. It's like, listen, like before we start the meeting, can we just shoot the shit for 5 minutes about what's been going on with everybody? Like, you know, let's take the time to make sure we remember that we're human and just have some fun with it, and then we'll get down to the, you know, to the project, right? And just, you know, we try to make sure it's, you know, we're keeping it light, you know, as much as we can, because it's a lot, you know, to take these projects are stressful. There's a lot of issues, and everybody's under a lot of pressure, and so you have to kind of give ourselves a break sometimes. That's what I always try to tell our guys. It's like, you know, let's be professional, but not too professional.
I love it.
You know what I mean? Like professionalism is great, but like at the end of the day, like I kind of came from more of a corporate world, and I think I kind of wanted to get away from that corporate world. I hated it, and I honestly feel that more and more people feel the same way, even in the corporate world.
For sure,
that they want to be less corporate, and what's happened is the corporate world's become less and less corporate.
Yeah,
because they don't want to be like that anymore. No one wants to wear a suit. No one wants to wear a tie. Look at London. Like everyone used to. When I left London, everyone was wearing a suit and tie every day, right? You go to London now, it's not like that anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of going away. Like I wear my Jordans every day now. Like, you know.
So I got a follow up to that. So you use the clothing analogy you were saying. So an analogy just coming up with here that kind of emulates your business, right? So instead of being the Kohl's, right, that's going out and appealing to a massive customer base, which could be, you know, in your business, the $500,000 house, you're aiming to be the higher end, let's say like a Saks Fifth Avenue, right, where it's a smaller pool of potential customers, but at a much higher price point, thus more of a markup or yield for you.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's funny. I'm actually trying to do both, but I have two different brands. So, Blackbriar. Well, what's going on with that?
Oh, that's fucking cool.
Party time.
Yeah. I don't know who did that.
Like, I don't know who did that either, but that was cool.
We need to do more of it. I like it.
Yeah, Blackbriar is more of that higher end brand, right? And so, yeah, those kinds of bigger projects that are, you know, are somewhat sexy projects, so to speak, right? But then, in addition to that, I also have a company called OnTap Trade, and OnTap Trade is trade on tap, baby. You know, it's any trade that you need on tap, and so that's more of an open book to smaller projects, whether that be a quick bathroom remodel, adding an ADU, you know, smaller projects. We'll do kind of little bit more stuff like that. We also rent labor as well. We rent labor to other contractors and stuff like that. So I'm kind of doing both businesses. And so, you know, but Blackbriar for sure is more of a high-end brand.
Can you, we talked about this a little bit in Orlando, that your second business, the Trades on Tap. Can you explain that business a little more? Because I remember you actually said that you actually see that business potentially has even more opportunity to scale. And I thought it was an awesome business. So maybe explain that a little bit more. Exactly
I do think so. Yeah. It's funny. We just got on the phone actually with a guy that I met. It was actually Oz's friend.
Yeah.
Oz's friend. You remember Oz that we met? His buddy, who's also a like a stockbroker or whatever it is that those guys trade money, don't they, on the stock exchange and stuff like that. He lends money, and he lends money for like unsecured debt, like it's unsecured business debt, right? So like these guys out in New York trying to lend you money to your business at like 20% or whatever because you're in a pinch and you need money. He does that. And so what he was telling me was he's been using AI and he's built out this bot that is able to have real conversations with people in a very conversational way that you wouldn't even know it was an AI. And he was like, it's absolutely blown up his business, because they're able to send out, 50,000 messages a day or something like that to people. And when someone says they're interested, it just continues to talk with them on a text message until it books an appointment. And I was like, wow. And he's like, it's revolutionizing his business. And I was like, wow, I could use that. So for OnTap Trade, one thing that we're in the process of launching our marketing campaign for, and is really a subscription-based service for home improvement work that needs to be done. So, for guys like us, me included, a little bit, but we procrastinate about stuff around the house that needs to get done.
That's right? Totally me.
Our wife's always complaining, saying, "Hey, honey, when are you going to get that door fixed or the wall patched or whatever it is? It's an electrical outlet." And I got this. Don't worry. I'm going to get there. I'm going to get it done on the weekend. I'll be there. I'll get my screwdriver out. And then you never get it done because you're just a busy entrepreneur and you've got other shit going on. You can't do it. So our whole campaign is about attacking that and going after, that stay-at-home mom or someone that's just feeling like, their significant other's not getting to it, and providing them the ability to get those things done quickly, efficiently, at a reasonable cost, and then continuously checking in with them, right? And that's where the AI comes in, right? Because now if AI can say, hey, send you a text message, once a month saying, hey, you got anything that needs doing around the house? We've got John in your area next Thursday. You want him to come by? And they can say yes, they can say no. They're on a small subscription service. And if they say yes, they text us a list of things that you need. You make sure the right people are there. You handle it. And, if they say yes, the cost of their small subscription cost, it's like a low entry fee, right? 10, 15 bucks a month, something like that. That gets contributed towards the value of the work. So that's kind of the goal. That's the idea. And so
I'll be your first client in Milwaukee if you don't have any yet, because that's a no-brainer. I got a bunch of shit in my condo I got to do that I just keep putting it off, and I'm like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For sure.
Exactly. So we come in, bang it out, and sometimes that stuff's like small stuff where it's just like, is it really worth getting a fixed price for it? It's like, no, if I give you a hourly rate of $35 an hour, it's like, what is it going to take him a day, 2 days? No big deal. Just do it, right?
Yeah.
So that's that business. That's that business model. And we started to have a lot of success with it here in LA. People are, knocking down our door to get us. Now we're just trying to find, more labor to be able to expand, because, we got 70 guys on staff right now already. And that's only increasing.
Yeah.
So
I think that has an opportunity to be a massive company, honestly.
And the cool thing about it is that it's not just the cool thing about what OnTap Trade does is that it supplements what Blackbriar does.
For sure.
So we used our own labor to also help with our own projects. So it's like, the electrician didn't turn up today, and can't get to our job for a week. All good. We got our own. We'll bring them in, get take care of, so we can keep moving, right? We're not messing around waiting for a sub to show up because he's busy and he can't get to us and he's overstretched and he has too many jobs on. It's like, if you don't get this done, we're gonna have guys here tomorrow. We're gonna handle it. And you can't say that, you're avoiding the warranty or anything like that, because we gave the opportunity. We told you need to be here. You didn't show up. So it's like we brought in OnTap Trade and we caught ourselves up. So we do that with our clients as well. And we also, a lot of these bigger houses, there's a lot of this fill-in work. It's like what fell between the cracks, And also, sometimes there's a change order and a subcontractor's like, oh, yeah, man, I'm going to take advantage of you now, right? Because now you're in the pocket, right? A base contract, and they rate you on the change order because they know they can do that. And sometimes we just say, nope. We'll just handle it ourselves. You're all good. And then we bring in OnTap Trade, we bang it out, save our clients some money, right? Mm-hmm. So we're on the same page, or for our own development projects, we're saving ourselves money. So it's a really clever ways that we can also use that business inside of Blackbriar as well.
Vertically integrated, synergistic. That makes a ton of sense. And I think I see all the best business owners doing that, finding other ways to create a profitable business that can also work alongside synergistically with your other business, right?
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
So I think we've talked a lot about, I mean, these are great business ideas, talked a lot about these amazing projects that you're working on, talked about your leadership style, which I love that too. I mean, it's not like it's obviously a $180 million house or whatever is extremely, extremely important to those clients, but it's not open heart surgery, right? Like they've got to, so keeping things light. But along with that, I wanted to, Dan does, for the listeners, Dan does his favorite British slang on his Instagram. And so you gotta give us some good stuff here, man. What comes to mind for you with
for British slang?
Yeah, explain some of this stuff to us.
There's so many like dirty words that it's like, can't really use. I'm not sure we can say those on camera. I mean, we could do it. We could just say them.
Let it roll. Let it roll.
Which ones are too dirty and which ones aren't.
That works. Yeah. Tell us. Yeah. So say me and you are sitting in a pub in the UK, and
well, I mean, the first one that comes to mind is wanker, right? You're a bit of a wanker, but that's a jovial way. It's not quite the same translation as a jerk off. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't quite. It doesn't mean like a jerk off's like he's a fucking idiot, right?
Yeah.
We would be like, yeah. I mean, it could be said in a way that he's a dickhead, but it also could just be like, hey, he's a bit of a wanker. Like it's like, it could be a jovial way of saying, he can be a bit of a dick, but I like him, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so that's one that comes to mind. It's funny. I was thinking about like opening a pub or a bar kind of thing here in LA at some point. I was like, something that I kind of want to do, and I was like, what would I call it? And I was like thinking I would call it the Governor. It was like everyone in America is like, that's the word they like. It seems like they use the most. Like, hello, Governor.
Yeah.
Whenever they're doing a British accent, they're like, hello, Governor.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So I thought I would call. That's what I think I would call my British pub. Call it the Governor. The Governor, mate.
I love it.
Governor. There's a lot of like British rhyming slang that like people don't really understand. What the hell does he mean by that? Like apples and pears, stairs, dog and bone, phone. You're like, what? It's like, but like in British rhyming slang, you would say like the second word. So like if you say, pass me the dog, that would mean pass me the phone, because dog and bone, phone.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Wow.
So, and then you say apples and pears, stairs, right? You're going up the apples, going up the stairs, right?
That's confusing.
So there's stuff like that. Trouble and strife, wife. Right? So you just call her Trouble. Right, Trouble.
Yeah. I love it.
Well, she's Trouble anyway, right? I mean, she's your wife. So, so there's stuff like that. There's a lot of like old school British rhyming slang and stuff like that. But then there's just like these weird sort of terminologies that I end up coming out with that I'm like deep within me from my father somewhere that I'm like, how the fuck did I just come up with that?
Yeah.
I have even no idea where they come from. I guess I seem to say like horses for courses quite often. And I'm like, horses for courses. So it makes a lot of sense, right? It's like, you put the right horse on the right course, it's going to win.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, like a right application for something. So I tend to use that one before, quite a lot. What's another one that's really weird? Blue ass fly. Like, I don't really know where this comes from, but it's like, I don't know. I don't know how I would even use it, but I seem to end up using that.
Blue ass
fly. It's like cold as a blue ass fly out here. It's like, the fuck is a blue ass fly? It's like, doesn't really make any sense. I'm like, no idea where it came from, but it's somewhere British that like it's come from, you know, a long time ago. But yeah, there's a lot of like old English sayings. Like, I remember this one guy, like a really posh English dude, was like, when I was at university, like, you know, university people would meet people from all over the country, right? We wouldn't really have exposure to these people, and they're like, this guy's like really posh, like British posh. And I remember like he got into an argument with some dude, and he goes, "You're a cad, a rotter, and a bounder." And I'm like, a cad, a rotter, and a bounder. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? You know? But it's like, it basically means you're a bad person. A cad is like, you know, like a bad person. A rotter. He's a rotter. What a rotter.
Oh.
You know, like these weird British kind of like posh stuff as well. I'm not particularly like posh, really. I'm from a pretty middle-class family in Essex, and Essex is like known to be, you know, a little bit more, how should we say, loose. They say there's loose women there as well, but
Loose
you know,
birds.
it's a cool place. It's a cool place. I don't mind England. I like going back there and hanging out, see my family, but like a couple of weeks, and I'm like, I'm ready to come back to LA. I'm ready to come back to that warm weather.
Like the weather there, I don't blame you.
But hey, the grass is always greener on the other side somewhere, right? I mean, you know that, Brock, right? I mean, did you get sick of like hanging out in Miami for 3 months?
No, I mean, not sick of it. I mean,
No,
I love it
like,
down there.
I actually want to go back.
Yeah, I mean, I did look forward to coming back. I enjoy it here too, but yeah, it's definitely more excitement going back down there than there is coming back here. That's for sure.
What about you, Jeff? How do you feel about moving to Wisconsin?
Man, I'll tell you what, I don't love the weather. I do love the people. I've got a great support system, a lot of good buddies here, a lot of wankers though, but in a good way, I guess. But, so, I don't know. I don't know where I'll be. I really do like places with nice weather and, a little bit more going on. But Milwaukee's got a lot of great things going for it. So part of me, I just try to travel a bunch right now, but, we'll see what the future holds.
Yeah, well, Milwaukee has got a lot of good stuff going on, man. Like, I did a lot of reading about industrial after we talked about it, especially because of this event that we went to, right? And it was like, everyone was like, industrial is going to go crazy. Like, this thing that they said that, like, got me the most was like, China's going under, man. Like, it's going down. Like, oh, shit. China's going down. I was like, you're not going to be able to get, like, all these products that we can get, like, super cheap from China anymore. And, like, manufacturing's coming back to the US, and everybody needs to prepare for that. I mean, that was a lot of the messaging that was at this conference that we were at, right? It was like, manufacturing is coming back to the US, and things are going to go crazy.
Onshoring, nearshoring, reshoring, and then the supply chain disruptions that happened within the pandemic. It's like nobody wants to have that happen again, and so we're seeing a big influx of demand. And we just happen to be grew up in a market that has a lot of manufacturing and always has. It has a lot of infrastructure with railways and the water that we have here, and then also the 2 major freeways going right through it. So we're kind of in the right space at the right time, but and that's why I think I love having our business here, but definitely do want to come out to your the party in. Did you say it's in Newport Beach? When are we doing
August?
that?
Yeah, that's what Jake's saying. There's something in Newport Beach, but there's going to also be a party coming up at this house that I'm finishing up.
That's the one I was talking about. Yeah, when's that? We gotta find out when that one is.
We'll talk offline. Yeah. He probably doesn't want to give all the listeners.
Well, let me know when the house is going to be finished. Yeah, but we'll see. We're just pushing right now. We're pushing to get that house done. So, do you think that there's like Pacific growth areas in Wisconsin in terms of manufacturing, in terms of industries that are like more prevalent than others? Like, or it's like, there's much more tech people moving here, or there's much more, manufacturing this, or do you know what I mean? Like, what do you think of the different industries that are growing there that you're seeing?
So there's, I mean, the thing about technology and automation, you're talking about AI, and so, but more so with robotics, as the stuff that we're buying, the innovation is happening where they're making these buildings that were maybe built in the 80s or 90s or something, or even before then. They're at surface level, they don't look as efficient as like a brand new facility that Amazon must have built. However, they're building a lot of different robotics and different innovation to be able to get the most efficient use out of these facilities, right? And sort of retrofit them to be able to use more of the space. Sometimes it's like, they're set up in like a funky layout or whatever, right? And so the robotics innovation is sort of being passed on to the landlord. And that's one thing I love about it. Now, specific industries, we talk a lot about the water here, fresh water, right? There's a lot of parts of the country that's in a drought. So there's a lot of companies that are being based here that are trying to figure out water issues and building plants around that, which is pretty interesting. Those are some of the main ones, but manufacturing in general, they used to call it the machine shop of the world in Milwaukee. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of just existing infrastructure that's built for that needs to be kind of refreshed and rebranded and put new and innovative ways to make these warehouses as efficient as the stuff that's being built today.
Yeah. What about this leaseback ideas? Do you guys think, that guy Jake's doing a lot of that leaseback, and this whole thing's, giving these guys additional capital to expand, right? Is by doing the leaseback on manufacturing guys that own their own facilities.
100%.
Do you guys think that's something you want to look at?
Yeah, we do quite a bit of that. We've done a lot of that. Actually, the majority of our industrial portfolio is actually sale leasebacks.
That's how we met Jake. He heard us talk about the sale leaseback. He said, "Hey, I'm doing the same thing," and it's exciting because just with it's almost more of a capital markets thing where money was so cheap for so long, right, that they could go out and get get whatever credit they need for their business to invest in their projects or whatever really easily. Now that that's tightened up, if they own their own facility, they're thinking, well, shit, I can refinance and pull out 60 or 70%, but I got to pull that out at 7% interest rate instead of just getting all of it. Say I own a $10 million building. Instead of getting $6 million or $7 million at 7%, I could get all 10 million of that and then negotiate a long-term fixed lease, or maybe not fixed, but with some escalators for inflation. But and then they have their OpEx is a little bit more stabilized for their costs throughout the term of the lease, and they're able to access all that money and put that capital back into their businesses. So the sale leaseback, and there's a bunch of companies that, not a bunch, but there's a number of groups that are doing this, and think that it's kind of the most ripe time for a sale leaseback in 20 years. So that's something I would definitely study a lot of too. Yeah. And how are you guys finding opportunities? What are you guys doing? How are you out in the market looking for opportunities? What does that look like for you guys?
Mostly through brokers, honestly. We built a network of brokers here that operate in the space, and we lean mostly on those guys for deal flow. We also have direct to owner, some stuff just through people we know here. I've been able to get acquisitions through those sources. We're trying to do more cold calling campaigns and stuff directly to owners, but I think the backbone for us is always just going to be broker relationships.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. That's true. So you guys are trying to actively look to acquire right now. What's the status on the fund right now, boys?
We're launched. Yeah, we got 3 deals in the pipeline already. And
did you get any deals come out of Fund Launch Live?
No,
we haven't got any deals from that. But no, we do have a
lot of good networking.
A lot of good networking.
A lot of fun.
Partnerships.
A lot of good people. And that's why it's so important to go to that stuff. But yeah, we got deals under contract, and we're just firming up the legal docs. The deck is pretty much ready to go. We just had some finishing touches on it. And Yeah, we're fired up. I think it's going to be the right place at the right time, and hopefully everything goes well. But I'm feeling pretty good about it.
What about a sale leaseback on Rocky's building? He's looking for capital, wouldn't he?
That's
do
right.
Something like that?
That's right. We're going to see him next week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Check out his facility and say,
work out a deal.
You should buy it from him.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Lease it back to him. Because he owns it, doesn't he? Doesn't he own his own facility?
Yeah.
He said he owns 5 warehouses. I mean, he's got a lot of stuff down there. You know, he's got the Airbnbs. He's putting us up in.
But you're going down there to see him. You're going to go fly down there.
Well, it's not even.
Drive,
it's 2.5 hours. So.
Oh, it's 2 hours drive. Yeah, you guys easy.
Easy, yeah.
Yeah.
Just swing on down. That'll be good.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
You know,
what's the buy box? What's the buy box for you guys right now? Like, what's the main? You know, what's the sweet ass deal for you right now? What are you looking for?
So basically, and our deck, we go into it, but most of the builders that they're catering towards these big Amazon facilities, Costco, whatever, right? These major buildings that are 300,000 square feet and above. And so there's still a need for the 20,000 to 150,000 square foot bucket, and it's really pushed up rents, and it's pushed vacancies way down in that size range. So we're looking for deals that are like $2 to $10 million. And those deals are usually built within the existing infrastructure, right? Because they've been built a long time ago. They're built along the railways. They're built, in these major industrial corridors. Everybody talks about last mile delivery, the e-commerce boom. There's a lot of people that are looking for flex space. They don't need, 300,000 square feet, but they might need 50,000 all day, right?
Right.
And so that's what we're looking for is Class B deals that are within existing infrastructure, industrial corridors, and
you're going to do some upgrades on those types of deals. Like once you purchase them, you're going to do some power upgrades and spruce them up and get them ready for market.
Power, air, parking. Rocky had a good idea about relocation services and working that into the deal too. So because
that is a cool idea, right? I mean, it is a cool idea.
It's something I didn't really think about until I was sitting there with a guy that owns a manufacturing company that's like, you know what, it cost me $2.5 million to move all this shit, these big CNC machines and whatever. And I'm like, maybe there's a way that we can incorporate that into sort of finance their move as well in our business.
That would be like icing on the cake for them, wouldn't it? It's like, it's like, shit, if I can move, it's not going to cost me anything either, and it's all just part of this deal that I'm getting into. And finance that? Well, why wouldn't I do that?
Exactly. And pay more in rent to do so, which, that increases the value of the building and the value of that lease. So, yeah, it's there's a lot of opportunities, but we're doing obviously the exterior upgrades and trying to find ways to add more overhead doors and just more ways to get the space more usable.
Right.
I think we covered everything. I think this is a great episode and appreciate you coming on.
We want to have you back on. We want to start doing more repeat episodes with people that are doing awesome shit in business. And then that way we can kind of keep up with each other's businesses too.
I'd love that, dude.
But I'm coming out to see you in LA either way.
Maybe we'll do a follow-up episode out there. So,
but this was fun, dude. This was fun shooting the shit with you guys. I appreciate you guys taking the time to let me speak my British stuff.
The pleasure's all ours, man. You're awesome.